1. AITA for not relinquishing my apartment. My parents divorced when I was young, and my dad got remarried. Circumstances led to us being estranged for some time due to their actions. My dad makes lots of money, but did not want to contribute to child support or me and my brother's education, so my mom paid for it mostly. I moved away to complete an arts degree. There was an emergency in my student housing, and I was spending my money from part-time jobs on living expenses. Long story short, I became temporarily homeless during the last year of my bachelor's degree, and my options were to stay in the city homeless or forfeit my degree and move home, although I was 6 months to being done. So I became homeless, eventually my place became livable again, and I completed my degree. My dad, who makes a considerable amount of money, knew to some degree I was homeless and did not offer any support. Fast forward 2 years, I moved home and worked 2 full-time jobs to be able to go for a clinical graduate program that is plus competitive and got an apartment. How that becomes relevant now is my dad is asking if his partner can stay in my apartment because she has a family member in the hospital nearby, although I am living there and completing my master's. I have tried to set boundaries, but they continue to ask and degrade my financial decisions of continuing to pay for my apartment when I'm going home to work for the summer. They have more than enough money for a hotel and have went on 2 overseas vacations in the past 2 months. In my 7 years doing my education, they never came to visit me, although I have been less than 4 hours away the whole time. This is all bringing up a lot of feelings for me, alongside a lot of sexism and preferential treatment growing up that resulted in undue blame and poor treatment towards me. AITA for not letting them or wanting them to stay at my apartment. 2. AITA for blocking my principal. I am a 27-year-old female who has been teaching for 3 years. I have been making teacher-related content on TikTok and Instagram for a few months now. My content includes setting up my classroom, story times, and DIML. Yesterday, we found out that next year we are getting a new principal for the next school year. Our current principal was telling me about how she also makes school-related content, so during lunch, me and one of my colleagues and I looked her up on social media, found her account, and saw she posted a lot of negative stuff towards teachers making content and how they should focus on teaching. After I saw this, I blocked her. My coworkers told me I need to unlock her and get her permission to post, which she will definitely not allow, as she said in one of her videos, even though I already have permission from the superintendent. What should I do? Unblock her and ask to post, or keep it the way it is? My content is clean, doesn't show my students' faces or information, and the school district I teach at is not known to the public. 3. AETA for playing the piano at my sister's wedding. I am very confused and don't know what to believe, so I need Reddit's help. Throwaway because my friends and family know my Reddit. Also, excuse my bad English. So I, 24F, have been playing the piano since I was 5, and it is now my job. I also play the flute in the orchestra of my city. Piano has always been my passion, and I don't know how to express myself in other ways if not playing. My family hasn't been supportive of this passion of mine that I paid for my lessons starting from 16 years old because my parents didn't want me to attend piano lessons anymore. I then found a job that helped me pursue my dream, and I eventually became a professional pianist and flutist on the side. My sister, on the other hand, 28F, studies law, and she receives more attention than I do for obvious reasons. When I lived with my parents, they would blame the fact that sister didn't graduate law yet school on me, simply because I was distracting her with constantly playing my instruments. As soon as they told me this, I stopped playing in my own house and found somewhere else to stay for several hours, and I would play there. Shortly after I moved out. Now, her marriage was a week ago, and unfortunately, I don't have a lot of money. I am struggling with my rent and expenses, so I couldn't get her anything for her marriage, which made me feel super uncomfortable. I told my parents, and they said this: next time you'll think twice about your career. I decided to rehearse a very beautiful piece by Chopin that I knew my sister loved because she always used to fall asleep when I played it. Nocturne number 6 in G minor. Plus, she would always talk to me about her crush, now husband, while I was playing that very piece. I thought it was meaningful and she would have loved it as a gift. During her wedding, I told her I had a surprise for her, something that meant so much for the both of us, and I started playing. The reaction of everybody made me think it was amazing, and I went and hugged her. Little did I know that she hated it. The next day, I receive a message from her saying that she wants to cut me off, that not only I didn't buy her the necklace she has been hinting on, but that I dared playing at her wedding without first consulting her. In that moment, I felt like shit because I didn't think that it would have been disrespectful. My parents told me that if I don't stop my career as a musician, they don't want anything to do with me because my personality revolves around my talent. This broke my heart, but I can't stop thinking I might be the AH. Comments. Comment. NTA. Your family is horrible. They should be proud that you are a working musician. You should have given your sister a heads up that you were going to play. Weddings are usually scheduled down to the minute. The only reason why I didn't is because she told my family and there is also going to be a dance room, a pianist, and a singer. I thought it wasn't a big deal to just play a piece, 4 minutes, after a few they played. In fact, the singer at the wedding told me that they were going to go take a 10-minute break anyway. Comment 2. Soft ESH here. Because performing at a wedding is something you should discuss first. However, big on your parents' side. Parents. They just sound like jerks, and you'd be better off without the lot of them. Comment 3. Info. Was it a piano or a keyboard? This is a side issue, but someone brought up using another musician's instrument. It is definitely rude to use someone's guitar without permission, and the idea of using someone else's woodwind is legitimately gross because you're sharing spit. But an actual piano is different. If it's a keyboard that the musician brought themselves, then it falls under the guitar category and ought only be used with permission. But if it's a piano, which belongs to the facility, it's different. Were you playing another musician's instrument and using their equipment without permission? That would be an asshole move, if a minor one, and not one entirely relevant to the wedding or to your family. So, it's tangential, but I'm still curious. The piano, not keyboard, was owned by the venue. Kids would play with it even before the pianist started to play. I did not ask for permission because the venue is owned by my uncle and aunt, so I felt comfortable playing it without asking them first. The pianist went on a 10-15-minute break and asked him if I could play while he was gone and said of course, he also stayed to listen. Or comment 4. YTA. What you did wasn't a gift, it was a blatant attention grab. My sister did the same thing to me. My entire life, I couldn't have even one day to myself, even my own wedding day. If she wasn't the center of attention, she made herself be. I'm sure you do the same. I haven't talked to my sister in 12 years. I don't plan to ever talk to her again. My life is my own now. Thank you for the input, but I have to disagree. My sister has always been the favorite. I was and still am the black sheep of the family, and I am okay with that because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. My intention wasn't grabbing the attention. In my mind, it was a gift, and I wrongly thought she would appreciate it. I am overall a good sister, and I only stated what happened at the wedding, not my entire life with her. Comment 5. Info. What did other people say about your performance? People loved it, they recorded it too. I mean, they recorded the bride and groom reaction, and I could clearly see the groom moved while was holding her hand and kissing it, dancing slowly. My sister didn't seem annoyed either. The groom posted the video on FB, she did not. Comment 6. ESH. Her for expecting you to buy her an expensive gift when she knows you're struggling? Why a necklace? This does not go into the wedding gifts category in my opinion. You for the surprise. She's never supported you or your career. What made you think she would love that gift? She actually didn't care as much as my parents, so she wasn't against it. She wanted a necklace because she expected her side of the family to gift things to her and her husband's side of the family to gift things to him. She decided the whole gift thing, so I am not really sure what the others got her. Comment 7. You are not required to buy your sister a gift, and she should not expect something that she picked out. What a brat. Ope. When she showed me the picture of the necklace and the price, around €400 a month ago, I reminded her that I couldn't afford it, and she told me to go play another kind of flute. In my language, it was a joke, meaning I should go give mouth jobs. When I confronted her about it, she said she was only joking, so I moved on. Update 0.5 edit. I want to clarify that when I played was pretty much the end of the wedding. Some people were heading home too. My sister's plan was to have the music in the background towards the end so that people could relax and drink. There was nothing going on. I was aware of the wedding plan, so I knew that it was possible for me to play without interrupting anything. I also played when people were heading home, so I did not do it to make it about me. I have been playing for years, and I do not need 4 minutes of attention by strangers. I value other things. In that moment, I was valuing my sister's emotions, but I got it all wrong. Edit 2. For people saying I only assumed my sister loved the piece, I actually did not. She would constantly ask me to play it for years, even once at her B-day party where she would dance with her now husband. I am sorry I didn't clarify this in the original post, but I think it'll help understand why I chose that piece. Comments. Comment 1. My gut wants to say you aren't the asshole, especially after your edits and think your family's attitude around your music is awful. But it was boneheaded to just go ahead and do it, especially given the setup there. If there was a mic set up for people to go give congratulations at their leisure or something, sure. Go up unprompted and make a little, "This one is for you, sis. All love and happiness wished for you" speech and play the song. But in that setting, it would have been more appropriate to ask the bride and groom in the moment if it was okay to play for them. Also, to clear it with the band. You don't just take over someone's stage, even if they're taking a break. I think their reaction was awful, and them being so angry about you not afford a physical gift is extra dickish. But you really ought not have just sprung a performance on the wedding like that. ESH. Sorry, because I really feel for you, and I don't think for 1 second you meant anything bad, just failed to read the room right. Comment 2. Nobody is an asshole for playing Chopin's Nocturnes, one of the most beautiful sets of compositions ever, on the piano. My god, this wedding shit is out of hand. It's not even about the wedding, it's about this family's disdain, probably jealousy, for OP. OP your NTA. It was a thoughtful gift. I am sorry your family is trash. Comment. I get the feeling OP's parents hate their chosen career because it's not something the parents can brag to their friends about. Sis gets all the attention as a law student because having a lawyer in the family is status and something to be proud of. A starving artist who can only afford to play a surprise song at the wedding and can't buy an expensive material item, necklace for the gift, is embarrassing to the parents and sister. I feel so bad for OP. The world needs musicians and artists, yet they are constantly shit on, even by their own family. Comment 4. From the sounds of the edit, she played at the end of the reception, not during the ceremony. It could have been an amazing little memory moment for her sister and new husband since that piece had meaning for the bride in context of their relationship. It doesn't sound like it was attention-grabbing or interrupted anything else going on or scheduled. The sister is being very selfish if a necklace was more important to her. Of course, I'm biased since my first oboe teacher was unable to come to my wedding and play during our ceremony. I haven't played much in a very long time, but she was an important and amazing person in my life, and I still regret that it didn't work out because it would have meant a lot. Update. I wanted to thank everybody. I was really confused and didn't know what I did wrong. I want to clarify that in my family, everyone is either a lawyer, a doctor, vet, or an engineer. I am also not that annoying relative that plays all the time. I rarely play at family events when my family is around. My sister's b-day parties, she asked, and her marriage. Also, my sister has been supportive of my career. She has never hated it. She loved when I played for her, and I did not want to prove anything with playing something there. It was a genuine gift I had for her. I received different opinions from you, and I decided to call my parents. I called them asking if we could talk together with Sister and Bill, and they said no, since it would be awkward. I then tried to call my sister, but I think she blocked me, so I had to call my Bill, who didn't know anything. I tried to explain to him what happened, and he said he was shook, that if he knew, he would have talked to my sister. I didn't tell him about the necklace or anything too specific because I don't want to create trouble. I just wanted to tell her I was sorry I didn't discuss it with her first. Bill invited me home, and when I got there, I started crying like a baby. My sister looked emotionless. She was looking at me like I was some sort of monster. I told her I was sorry, and I should have discussed it with her first. She then asked Bill to leave the room, and she told me that what bothered her was the fact that she was embarrassed by the fact that her best friends got her cool stuff, and her sister got her something she cannot even touch. Apparently, that embarrassed her a lot. She said she doesn't want to cut me off because she is aware of my financial situation, but warned me that she will not help me with my parents. I love my sister, so I am happy she won't cut me off completely. I wanted to visit my parents too, but they said it was better to talk on the phone first. They wanted to know what my decision was and told them I would never throw almost 20 years of hard work just because they want me to go to uni and study law like my sister. Their dream has always been having 2 lawyers in the family. They said that I needed to give them the piano back then. The piano I have is a grand piano that my parents bought when they got married for decoration. They have never touched it, and the only person in the house that used it was me. When I moved out, I asked if I could take it with me, and they agreed. They never specified it was a gift or I needed to give it back to them, eventually. At first, I got super emotional and asked them to please think about it because I cannot afford a piano ATM. Plus, it is the piano I studied on. I love that piano, but they told me to drop it and toughen up. If I don't give it back, they will sue me. I don't know if they are allowed legally, but I am scared, so I am probably going to give it back to them and cut them off. My father said, "You are struggling financially, and still you are not listening to us, insane." So I basically told them I want to be alone for a while, and I want no contact with them until further notice. Thank you everyone again. 4. AITA for yelling at my friend, US AITA. I was going to rent out a portion of my house to a friend, 24, and her 4-year-old. She has not paid rent yet. I was giving her the first month to figure things out. Within 24 hours of her moving in, she texts me that her nephew will be with her at all times. For context, her nephew, she doesn't have custody over, is mean to my kids and has been escalating lately, to a point where my kids are no longer comfortable with him. When I approached my friend about his issues with my kids, they laughed at me and said they would talk to him about it, bought him some video games, and nothing changed. I told my friend I'm not obligated to have him at my house whenever she wants, since we had agreed to her and her daughter moving in. I told her I would appreciate a heads up when he comes over to the house. She then started arguing that she shouldn't have to ask permission to have her kid over. Having 2 more kids in the house was not discussed prior. She didn't understand why she should have to ask if he can come over to the house whenever she wants, even though this was never brought up before. For 4 hours, she argued in text that I exclude her nephew from things, even though I told her she can bring him on the outings we go on. I just want a heads up if he's going to be at the house. She then came to my home, stood above me on the stairs, and argued for another hour in front of my kids. She said that I was disrespectful after she gave me an ultimatum about moving out, or he can be wherever she is. I chose her moving out in 30 days to figure her situation out. She found that my tone in text saying okay to moving out was disrespectful and wouldn't stop arguing. When she again accused me of excluding her nephew, I finally lost control of my anger and yelled that she's entitled to come to somebody else's house, not pay rent, and expect them to take responsibility for a child that she does not have custody over. She started crying and then reversed, saying that she meant for him to go on all outings and not be at the house whenever. But at that point, my anger had boiled over at 5 ARs of arguing, and I was done. I never brought up that the kids were uncomfortable so that they wouldn't have issues at school. She left within 15 minutes of me yelling, "So am I the asshole for yelling at my probably now ex-friend?" 5. AITA. For being weirded out by my parents' new friend. So long story short, my parents are in their 60s. In the last few months, they've befriended a girl who works in the same area as they do, a 20-year-old female. At first, it seemed more like a work-friends relationship. When they're in the same sort of area, they'd talk or hang out. She'd bring them things she bakes. She's taking some sort of baking course, so she's always giving them her leftovers from assignments. At first, it was April bringing them things at work. This turned into April going places with them after work. Then it turned into April driving out of the way by 40 minutes to visit them at their home. My parents also, for some reason, tried to set this girl up with my nephew who's the same age. He completely shut that down pretty quickly as he's not her type at all, despite my parents really trying to push it on him. Okay, that great a new friend is exciting, albeit the age difference is a little bizarre. Maybe they're giving her a bit more attention, fine. I go over there with my nephew one night, a few weeks ago, April is there. Another time my wife and I dropped by without warning, April is there. I video call me parents randomly throughout the week and she always seems to be around. At work or outside of work, oh, say hi to April. Suddenly, she appears. Well, the straw that broke the camel's back was that my parents were having the whole family over for Easter today, and you guessed it, April was there. Not only that, but the whole night was basically about her. April did this, April did that. I don't think my parents spoke more than 10 words to anyone else in the room. It was super awkward for everyone involved. She stayed all night. My boy actually opened his Easter basket in the corner of the room whilst my parents were in convo with April. This normally would have been something they'd make a big deal out of. Maybe bring it out and pay attention to him for a bit while he opens the gifts they got him. Not today. Weird comments being made. My mom was talking about a gift she's going to ask for as a birthday gift all of her kids can pitch on. April explained, "Guess I'm unadopted." Something about how she's collecting daggers because they're easier to stab people with and the wound won't heal. Anyways, I spoke to my parents when April left and explained to them that having her over during family functions makes it awkward, and they didn't want to hear what I had to say at all. My mom made me out to be the bad guy and told me it's controlling of me to not want her to have friends. This is when my wife chimed in and kind of explained to them that the whole thing is super weird and that it seems like April is just inserting herself. AITA for being uncomfortable and getting bad vibes from this girl always being around? Freaky how obsessed they've become. And my true crime watching brain is telling me she's trying to take out life insurance policies on them or something. LMFA, oh, that how weird it seems to me. 6. AITA for vetoing my stepbrother coming on vacation, I 22. F. Am planning to go on vacation with my family to another country. My stepdad wants to invite his son David, 24, on the trip as well. David moved out on bad terms and alienated himself from everyone except for his brother Matthew, 20, and his dad. Matthew is the type of person who brings down the mood everywhere he enters. He's deeply insecure about his body and has jealousy problems. I really don't want David coming on the trip because he wasn't involved in any of the planning, and I don't know if he will be financially or emotionally stable. I haven't seen or heard from David in a year, but Matthew and his dad say he's changed. I am very skeptical about that because there has been numerous attempts to invite David over, whether that be for holidays or get-togethers, and David never showed up. David hasn't contacted me in over a year. My stepdad is annoyed that I don't want David there. However, neither does my sister, 21, and my mom. My mom doesn't want to say anything because she wants to keep the peace. However, my sister 100% agrees with me. My stepdad wants us to move on, but I'm too petty for that. Whenever David joined us for activities in the past, it always ends up in disaster, either with him storming off somewhere or getting upset over the smallest things. I don't know if I'm being harsh, but I don't feel safe traveling to another country with someone who I'm not close with. I'm hoping David declines the invitation so that things won't be awkward. Any advice? Am I the asshole? 7. AITA. Olympics with GF and friends. The Olympic tickets for 2028 just dropped, and I, M26, offered to buy tickets for me and my GF, F23, to go to an event. I got us tickets for one of the events, and then I realized there was a decent price for another event one of my friends who moved far away was into, so I called and asked if they would be interested visiting me and attending that specific event. I also called my GF and asked if she was interested in going this event as well, and said no. After I got the tickets, my GF said that she was upset that I offered one of my friends to go and see the Olympics, and that it was going to be our special thing, and now she doesn't even want to go. Am I in the wrong here? Was I not considerate of her? 8. AITA for calling out someone for parking illegally. I live in a town that typical has not so nice residents who think their monetary worth makes them more important than anyone else. My neighbor's daughter parks her Mercedes on the entire sidewalk when she visits for holidays. Like, there is absolutely no space to use the sidewalk because her car is parked right up to the fence. You have to walk in the street. The side that we live on doesn't allow parking, but the other side of the street allows parking. I was at my car about to leave for my own holiday dinner when I saw her do this, so I waited in my driveway for her to finish parking before I got her attention. I told her that there is no parking on that side of the street, but it's also illegal to park on a sidewalk. She responded back, "This is my family's house." I said, "Okay, and a lot of families use this sidewalk that you're blocking." She rolled her eyes and said, "Yeah, sure, I'll move it." But I knew she wasn't going to. I wasn't going to push the situation further because these people are hot-headed, but then, behind the safety of a fence and her father, she started calling me a stupid bitch several times. A minute later, while I was in my car, the girl's mother walked up my driveway to knock on my window and approach me. She asked what was wrong with her daughter's parking. Again, I explained that she was obstructing the walkway from families, elderly, disabled, everyone. The mother then tried to justify the decision by saying they've been doing this for 7 years and nobody has said anything. I told her that just because she has been doing it that long doesn't make it right or legal. Then the girl's father started trying to intimidate me, but his wife, thankfully, shut him down. The girl's mother then said something about how the situation was blown out of proportion, but I reminded her that her daughter was the one who was immature and escalated the situation with the name calling. The better part of me knew I should have contacted parking enforcement, but I was nervous about retaliation, because these neighbors having been causing issues for the landlord for years now. AITA for not calling parking enforcement to clear a sidewalk that is heavily used by families, kids, and older women due to fear of retaliation. 9. AITA for canceling on my mom's Easter plans. I, 26F, recently bought a house 3 weeks ago with my husband. Previously lived with my parents for 2 years with him while we saved up. My parents have been kind enough to come on Saturdays to help. We always express our gratitude for their help when they do come. Today is Easter, and a few days out, we had some plans change, and we were to have Easter with my husband's sister and dinner at my parents' house. Yesterday being Saturday, my parents came to help. My mom was not in the best of moods and decided to pick a fight with my husband and rope me into it. She frequently tries to peg me against him. It ended up in quite a strange fight between all of us, and my husband and I didn't speak the rest of the day. It was terrible and nerve-wracking for me. Also, during this, I am getting up at 5:30 and getting home at 6 m.f. for work. I'm exhausted between work and renovations. And then this fight between all of us. I decided to tell my mom that my husband and I would like to stay home. Told her we wanted to spend some time, just the two of us, as we've been very stressed, and this fight also brought out things. My husband also did not feel comfortable going because of the fight yesterday. She is now extremely upset that we canceled, saying we are ungrateful and that she raised me poorly. Am I the asshole? I truly just wanted a break. I love my parents and am appreciative of what they do, but I am so exhausted. 10. AITA? My friend thinks I'm the reason he has end-stage kidney failure. I've known this guy for years, met during college. Later, I moved to another state for my career and we kept in touch. Life moved on, and years later, we started talking more and made plans to catch up. He would come to my state for a few weeks, and since I live alone, GF hasn't moved in yet at that time, I let him stay at my place. I've known him to be a drinker and cigarette plus weed smoker in college, and when we caught up, nothing really changed on that front. I was drinking a lot at that time he came over for a few weeks. Anyway, he comes by, we have fun, getting shit-faced every single day. After he goes back home, he experiences sudden health issues and get admitted to ER. They tell him he would have died if he didn't come in sooner. He has to be on dialysis now, probably lifetime or years until he gets any transplants. We continued to text normally after he went back, but then I noticed some weird comments he'd make when we talk about our old drinking days and making positive health changes now. I know it's not fair to bring that up to him knowing he is that state and cannot improve his health even if he wanted to. But in regular conversations, stuff just comes up. Then he starts saying stuff like, "Yay, things were great, blah blah blah, until I visited you." So he definitely blames me for him being stuck in dialysis now. He seems to think that I made him drink that much or something. I had no idea he'd get kidney failure. If his health was that bad, why did he drink with me? When he came over and we did all that partying, he was 37 years old and I was 45. 11. AITA for uninviting my friend's girlfriend without asking her. I, Rufus 22 male, have been part of a friend group of around 8 guys since secondary school. The majority of the group have girlfriends. Most of them have been together for around 3 years, so we all know each other very well. My mom and her friends recently got free tickets for an event about an hour away, and they said I can ask my friend group if they want to come, and 9 of them said yes. My mom and her friends agreed to drive us to the event. Update for everyone asking, they are attending the event too. They're not just dropping us off. However, one of my mom's friends recently dropped out, so there is one less car to take us all. As there were 9 people, we would not all fit in the 2 remaining cars. I knew we needed one less person, so I asked my friend, let's call him Ruben, if his girlfriend, let's call her Rebecca, still wanted to come. I sent Ruben a message explaining the situation and asked if Rebecca still wanted to come given the distance and the fact that the event finishes late at night. I tried to be nice about it and explained that this way no one would have to pay for extra transportation. It just made sense in my mind. Ruben messaged back saying that it was no problem since he and Rebecca had a family party that they were going to attend in the afternoon anyways. They both dropped out even though I only asked about Rebecca. I replied to Ruben asking if he still wanted to come because I still want to have him at the event. Ruben did not reply. A couple of hours later, Ruben asked why I had decided that Rebecca should be the one to drop out, and I explained that I didn't know if Rebecca liked these sort of events, and that my mom had never met her, so it seemed logical in that way. Ruben argued that I should have just messaged the GC instead of just singling her out. He also pointed out that since Rebecca and I have been friends for around 3 years, another option would have been to message Rebecca directly to explain the situation to her, as she was the one being uninvited. Ruben also argued that Rebecca knew what she was signing up for: a long drive, a long night, and she was well informed on what the event was. I just thought that she wouldn't like it. I have messaged Rebecca and said sorry for not speaking to you in the first place, and I have sorted the situation out with Ruben, and I hope that you understand. She reiterated that she is disappointed that I didn't message her in the first place and that I decided to sort out the situation with Ruben instead of her. I sent a simple apology again. So, Ada? Plot twist. I'm actually Rebecca. Thank you, everyone, for your replies. I wrote this from Rufus's perspective because I wanted unbiased opinions on the situation. I have avoided giving opinions on Rufus' side of the story. Everything I have written is factual and consistent with things Rufus has said to me and/or Ruben. Loads of people have asked about the driving situation. I'm sure we could have worked out an additional DD, but with the way Rufus's message was worded, there was no point in even suggesting it. It was clear he just didn't want me there for whatever reason. Never had the impression that he didn't like me, but now I know. I'm aware that some people may think my initial post was a terrible idea and not the right way to deal with the situation, but reading your comments have confirmed that my level of anger is justified, and that's exactly what I needed. We are all going to a birthday party in 2 weeks' time, so we will see what happens then. 12. AITA for saying my friend isn't an animal person. I, 19F, have a friend, J, also 19F. For the most part, she's a good friend of mine, and she's very nice. However, she can be a little rigid and expectant. My life is built around animals. I work at a pet store, have 2 dogs, foster cats, and horse ride. With my friend, I saw a few odd interactions with animals. She sort of acts like they're objects as opposed to autonomous creatures. Recently, she mentioned that she was trying to convince her dad to get another dog. I told her that it probably wasn't a good idea because her dog was 7, and she didn't live at home, so it made no sense to get a dog she'd only spend time with over the summer and not take care of. She then insisted that her dog needed another pet in the house. She then sent me TikToks of puppies that extended the lives of senior dogs. I said that while those videos were cute, that's not how it goes most often, and that senior dogs are often just stressed and overwhelmed with puppies, as most dogs don't enjoy puppy energy. She then asked what age of dogs would be a good idea. I responded with dogs that are the same size as your dog and like 5 to 6 years old. She said that that idea was fucking stupid because she didn't want a dog that would die too quickly after she got it. I told her that maybe she just wasn't an animal person and that maybe she didn't need a dog. She asked me what I meant by that, and I said, "You just seem like you want a toy more than a dog." She said that I was being mean, but I said that it was just how I felt. She called me a bitch and then texted me like nothing happened a few hours later. I asked a mutual friend of ours, and she said I was being bitchy, and if it was still on my mind, I should apologize, but I don't think I did anything wrong. 13. AITA for excluding my fiance's niece from our wedding. My fiancé 25 Minor and I 25F are getting married in October of this year, and we just finished getting our guest list figured out and sending out save the dates. The problem is that back in January, my fiancé mentioned to his mom, dad, brother, and SIL that we were considering having his niece 4F to be the flower girl. This is something we had discussed previously, but I hadn't fully made up my mind on it yet. However, he took me not saying not to tell them we were considering this as an all clear from me to say something. We ended up deciding to have a child-free wedding, but we felt bad about rescinding the flower girl role from fiance's niece, so we decided to see if it would be okay having her attend the ceremony and have her be with a babysitter during the reception. Fiancé called Esil to ask this, and she kept asking what reason we had to exclude her daughter from our day. Every answer my fiancé gave she would refute and say that's not a good enough reason. He also said that we know multiple people and companies in the area that would be happy to watch her, but was told that they need to meet the sitter beforehand and make sure the niece gets along with them beforehand, and they won't have time to do that, so that option wouldn't work. Eventually, he just said that I would text her to clear things up. I sent SEL a text the next day explaining that we were very sorry to make things confusing or awkward, but that we didn't want to have kids at the reception because there would be an open bar and people would be getting drunk and dancing in ways that might not be appropriate for a young girl to see. We also said that it may cause issues with my side of the family, many of whom have kids that aren't going to be able to attend, for us to make an exception for her. I left it off by saying that we are very sorry if all this means that niece can't attend, but I hope brother and SIL still attend and have a great time. She responded saying she thought it was weird to exclude a member of my wedding party from the reception, but it's our wedding, so it's whatever. A few hours later, fiance's dad called, saying that he was very disappointed and upset we were excluding a close member of the family, and told us we couldn't understand what it's like to have kids and how asking them to leave their child with a stranger is wrong. Every person we have talked to in fiancé family is on brother and SEL's side, and everyone in my family is on our side. So AITA FO, excluding my future niece from our wedding. TLDR, fiancé mentioned his niece being flower girl at our wedding before we decided to have a child-free wedding. Now everyone is upset we want to exclude her from the reception. 14. AITA for telling my mill she still deserves child support. Okay, so some background. My 24F husband, 27M, has an awful relationship with his dad, 50-ish M. For many, many reasons. The main one being he abandoned my husband at 5 for drugs, and when he finally wanted a relationship 10 years later, all he did was steal from my husband. We went no contact with my FIL almost 2 years ago. Since then, he decided to start contacting my husband's brother, 28NM, again. They previously stopped talking due to him being blatantly racist to my SIL, 24F. Now that they're in contact again, my BIL is treating him like father of the year and is constantly bringing him up to my husband on their phone calls. He's always trying to guilt us for my husband taking my family's last name and not allowing my FIL the ability to meet his first grandchild. Mind you, my BIL has yet to meet his nephew and doesn't know his name. My husband has asked time and time again that his brother not bring up their dad to keep their relationship civil. Recently, the ulterior motive became very apparent. My FIL still owes lots of child support from when the kids were young. He only has to pay about $50 a week. Due to the back pay, his license is bad and he's unable to get a passport. He's telling my BIL to convince my MIL, 50-ish F, developmentally delayed, to drop the child support cases so he can get a passport, valid license. My BIL is trying to convince MIL to give him the child support instead because it's supposed to be for the kids. My MIL is not very well off and raised these 2 kids alone for 18 years. We told my husband's mom to stand her ground and do not back down on this. He needs to pay back child support. We're being treated like we're crazy for this. Are we the assholes? 15. AETA for not sticking religiously to the highway code. I've just had my second altercation with this cyclist, about 60% sure it's the same guy both times, in about a month. I can understand to a degree, at least the first time, where he's coming from, but at the same time, I don't feel I'm doing anything wrong either. There is a public footpath, Josh cycle track near my house where I routinely walk my dog, and he often shows an interest in saying hello to whoever comes the opposite way, wanting to sniff about in the bushes, so despite often just browsing my phone as I walk, I'm generally conscious about making sure I keep him to the outside of the track and try to keep an eye out so I don't step into the path of an overtaking bike runner as he decides he wants to switch sides. So the other week, I'm walking along and coming to a fork in the track. One fork continues along, and the other, on my left as I look, is access to the below main road. A woman is coming up from the road with a dog, so I stick to the right-hand side and put my dog on the outside. I also notice at the same time as the woman some distance further up the main track, a cyclist coming along. Just after I've passed by the woman, I see out of my peripheral vision, as I'm looking down, that the cyclist, who'll be in his 50s, has stopped directly in front of me. I'm still on my right of the track. I stop and look behind instinctively, assuming there's another cyclist or runner coming past me, which the cyclist is letting past before coming past me himself. But there's no one there, so I look back around and up, and him very confused, and to my surprise, he questions me about my knowledge of the highway code and why I'm not keeping left. Now, I've a fairly low opinion of cyclists and their behavior and entitlement over pedestrians to begin with. Sweeping generalization, I know, but there we go. So after my brief attempt to explain, I was keeping to the opposite half of the track to the woman who'd just gone past, and my keeping of my dog on the outside fell on extremely deaf ears. I offered a few more colorful opinions of what I thought of him and his actions, went around him and on my way, and fairly irately at that. Now, earlier today, again out with my dog on the track, except this time, I happened to be crossing over the bridge that runs over the main road I mentioned before. The area is comfortably 30-40 feet wide, and there's a couple of benches towards one side. There's a cyclist resting at that bench, and I notice another cyclist coming the opposite way. It doesn't occur to me in the slightest I need to move out of the way or check for anyone else, as there is a good 10-15 feet of space to my left for him to go past in. Yet, as I'm walking past the guy sitting down, giving him about 3-4 feet of space as I take the shortest line from where the path opens out onto the bridge area and starts again on the other side of it, this other cyclist, totally ignoring the extensive space on his right, comes flying through that narrow gap between me and the guy sitting, causing me to exclaim in surprise as he goes past. I turn around and angrily stare at him and see he's decided to take exception to my surprise and is turning back to confront me, and like the first time, opens with a remark about the highway code, which makes me think it was the same guy. Feels like too much of a coincidence, particularly when it's never happened before, and the right general age. A bit of a slanging match, mostly on my side, and he heads off after some encouragement from the bystander cyclist who happens to tell me I'm in the right. Now I can see where this guy is coming from to some degree from the first incident with the highway code, keep left, etc., but surely a common sense approach has to take hold. But the second time just feels utterly absurd, given it was an open area, and the difference in space between the gap he went through and the room to the wrong side. 15. AITA for being short with my grandmother? Throw away. So when I, 20F, was 10, my dad and I had some issues that lead to us going NC until I was 18. When I went NC, I explicitly said I still wanted contact with my grandparents and everyone else on his side of the family, as long as it didn't involve seeing him. Well, my grandma decided that every time she was going to talk to me, she was only going to talk about him and how much he missed me, and try and guilt trip me into talking to and seeing him again. Some of these instances include saying that my little sister, 3 years younger than me, would cry every time she seen a picture of me that my grandma had up. Later confirmed with my sister that didn't happen. Saying that because I don't talk to my dad, I'm not close to God. I was religious at the time, and my family literally runs a church. And he's the closest thing to God's love that you'll have in your life. Repeatedly called me selfish and other names because I wouldn't see him. Again, I was 10-13 during this. Tried to turn me against my mom by saying she was keeping me from my dad and that she was telling me lies, etc. It was completely my decision to go and see, and my mom always spoke good about him, among some other things. Throughout the beginning of this, I told her many times that I would have no problem seeing her, talking to her, as long as she didn't try to make me see him or excessively talk about him. Eventually, it was very obvious that wasn't going to be an option, so I extended my NC to her as well. Now that I'm an adult, I am rebuilding my relationship with my siblings, my dad, and the rest of his family that I haven't seen in years, but I have absolutely no desire to rebuild anything with her. I don't want to talk to her. I don't care if she knows anything about me. I'm not overly rude. If we're at a family function, I'll respond to things she says like hi, bye, how are you, how is, whatever, but with extremely short, typically one-word answers, and never initiate conversation with her. When I leave, I don't hug her. They are a very hugging family. I'll hug my other set of grandparents, but not her, and she's past the point of trying to hug me, thankfully. On one hand, I kinda feel bad when I see the hurt on her face. I'm very much a recovering people pleaser. But on the other, she hurt me enough, and actions have consequences. AITA, 16. AITA for moving my roommate's stuff. My 18F roommate, 1920F, has been very disrespectful of our shared space from the start. We are in a college dorm that has 2 rooms and a common kitchen and bathroom space. She has always treated the common areas like they are her own personal home. I won't even get into all of the inconsiderate, disrespectful things she has done, still does, but our main issue is the bathroom. I keep all of my belongings in my room, including my toiletries. I've even gotten a personal fridge and microwave for my room because she is so dirty. She stores a lot of her belongings out in the common area. She also has an over-the-door organizer on the bathroom door. The shower is very tiny with two shallow shelves that fit a bottle each, two if you really balance them. Here is where the problem is. Even though she has the over-the-door organizer that you can reach from inside the shower, she keeps like 13 bottles of shower products on the shower floor and one on each shelf. This is what makes me think of her as inconsiderate, because I don't know where she thinks I am supposed to put my things when I shower. Does she expect me to hold everything between my legs and strategically shower? Well, the first few times it happened, I moved them when I showered and put them back, and then texted her asking her to leave at least one shelf open after she showers so I can have space. She ignored my text, did it about one time, and started doing it again. So I started moving them to the floor and not putting them back after. I was doing this for a while, and she still didn't get the hint that she shouldn't leave her stuff there. So one night I got a text saying, "Don't touch my fucking shit again." So apparently one of the bottles I moved didn't have the cap all the way on, and when she got in the shower, she kicked it over and like half of it spilled. I told her sorry, but it's not really my fault that she leaves all of her products in our shared shower. My friend think I should have just knocked on her door every time I have to shower and tell her to move her stuff so that she gets conditioned to move her stuff. But I don't think I should have to wait on someone to do something just so I can get clean in the dorm I'm paying thousands for. So AITA, 17. AITA for asking to wait for baby's vaccination before visitation. So before my kiddo was born, my husband and I agreed no visitor other than my support person who would help me recover during postpartum. It turns out my sister surprised me by traveling from the US after finally receiving her green card. She came on the day I had an appointment, as I was being monitored for preeclampsia, and on that day had to deliver due to high blood pressure and preeclampsia. She was with me during that appointment at the hospital until they confirmed I had to deliver. Then my husband came because I didn't want to make the decision without him or deliver without him. She didn't stay at the hospital but returned to our apartment to clean and make the house ready for us when I was discharged with kiddo. Anyways, the day she was leaving, which was the next day, she came to the hospital to tell me goodbye and ended up changing the baby at one point I delivered by C-section. My husband's niece wanted to see the baby 5 days after being discharged, and I told her due to the baby coming early, being small and unvaccinated, if she could wait until the baby was vaccinated. She said okay. His mother called her to find out if she had gone to see the baby, and she told his mother I said to wait. His mother sent me a WhatsApp voice note to let me know that his niece being the only family member in the province for my husband because we live in a different country, that she should be allowed to see the baby because my family, mother and sister got to see the baby already, and it was unfair. Even though my mother is helping me recovery and my sister's visit wasn't planned. My other sister, who is my only family in the entire country of Canada, was okay with waiting until the baby was vaccinated to see the baby. Also, my husband said it looked bad because my family got to see and hold the baby, and his niece has to wait. All things his mother said to him, and he didn't have a leg to stand on to defend me when talking to his mother and sister about the decision. The niece is about 26 years old. This is our first child together. I haven't been able to forgive my husband for that statement, especially since I've been standing by him when my only family here, my sister, didn't really show him much love. She stopped speaking with me for a while, and I stood by him through it all. We got married, and my sister didn't even attend our wedding. So AITA for the decision made. Edit to add, I'm not waiting for the baby to be fully vaccinated, only until kiddo had the first 8 weeks vaccine. Please read with understanding about the baby's health and safety. Baby was born early, and less than 5 lbs. I will do what I can to protect my child, because when ill, I have no one to call to help with sleepless nights. Anyways, appreciate the advice, both good and indifferent. 20. AET, for how I treated my friend on my birthday. I, 24F, have a friend Tara, 41F, who's an old coworker. I still work in the same building, just in a different department on a different floor. A couple weeks ago, I asked if she wanted to go out for my birthday. My birthday was on a Monday, and we would go out on the Friday before. She said yes, but we did not pick a time or place yet. The day before the plans, I reached out to her to ask her if she liked a certain restaurant that we may go to. She has her read receipts on and left me on read and never answered. A couple hours later, when I texted her about something completely different, she answered that right away and never acknowledged my question about plans. The day of plans came, and I assumed that she no longer could go. At 5 p.m. Friday, she reached out and asked what happens to plans. I told her that she never answered my text and that I assumed we no longer had plans. She said she was cleaning and couldn't answer, so I re-explained that since she still didn't answer after she was done cleaning, I assumed that the plans weren't happening. She asked me what my problem was, so I then explained for the third time that she never answered me about plans. She's like, I texted you today and I said, Tara, I love hanging out with you, but I cannot wait till 5 p.m. the night of for plans to be confirmed. She said, it's okay, and it was left at that. On my actual birthday on Monday, she offered to buy me lunch. I'm new to my floor, and I didn't really feel comfortable leaving my floor for a birthday celebration that may take longer than my allotted lunchtime. Also, we never resolved our other issue, and I wasn't quite comfortable going and seeing her yet. I told her, no, I'm okay, thank you though. She said, no problem, and again, it was left at that. Yesterday, I got a text from her that read, we miss and love you, and we would like to kiss and make up. No more big B or baby B behavior. I told her I didn't have a problem with her or any of our other old co-workers. She then went on to tell me how my birthday was a big miscommunication and how she wanted to do something, but I caught an attitude multiple times. She then asked me if I really didn't think I acted a certain way. I said no. She said my message when I said I couldn't wait till 5 p.m. night of her plans to be confirmed sounded beachy, and that she was beyond pissed at me. She then accused me of telling people she was mean. I didn't. I said I'm not going up to visit because I was called a B. She said, by who? I said, you. She then called my childish and that I was acting like a kid and how I'm playing victim, and it's sad I can't even realize when I'm being a B. I asked her for examples of when I was coming off as a B, and she said, this whole conversation. I said, you can call me whatever you wish, it doesn't bother me. She's like, fine. I apologized for my actions. She literally didn't, so I asked when she apologized. I told her to have a good night, and the conversation ended. AITA 21. AITA for losing my whole friend group? I am a 23 YOF, and the people in this story are all around the same age. A good bit of context is needed for this post. About a year ago, I moved out of an apartment with my whole friend group, and so did another friend, Marie. We moved back to our hometown. I had a job as a teacher, and Marie as a server. Marie would often go visit our two friends, Elaine and Michelle, during the week, which I often had FOMO about, but I never brought up. I would visit every weekend as my boyfriend lives in the same town as them, but every time I tried to hang out, they already had plans or didn't want to hang out. Things kinda blew up a couple weeks ago when it was Marie's birthday. I texted her a week before asking her if she had any plans for her birthday, and 2 days later replied she was going out of town. I asked if it was with her coworker friends. She left me on red. When her birthday came around, she had taken a trip with Elaine and Anne, another friend. It was on the weekend, so I was explicitly left out. This made me very upset, and I did cry about it. I tried to get advice from another friend, Mariana. Mariana and Elaine are sister-in-laws. Mariana would often confide in me as I would her. Apparently, every time I would confide in Mariana about my emotions feeling left out, she would go tell Elaine. I didn't want to ruin Marie's birthday by creating an issue, so I never ended up telling them they hurt me. I didn't want them to feel bad, so I just sucked up my emotions. Yesterday, Marie told me she didn't want to talk anymore. I asked her why, and she told me that Mariana had told her what I was saying. I FOMO. That had made Marie feel sad every time she did anything with the girls, because she was waiting for me to make an issue. She also said that Michelle has refused to go to anything that I am to be at, and she doesn't want to be stuck in the middle. Context for that is that Michelle and I have always had issues. I think of her as a selfish person, and I have many stories that prove that. Despite this, I always included her, and I never was hostile to her in friendly gatherings. I was in tears crying on the phone with Elaine, and I told her that I loved her, but she has hurt me a lot. I hate that I said that because that's what my toxic mother said when I went no contact with her. I called Mariana and explained to her what Elaine said, and that it was all private conversations I had with her that she shared. Mariana told me that she told me to communicate with them. The thing being is that I didn't bring it up because it would become bigger, but she did it, and now that's why all of this is happening. She doesn't seem to understand that her inability to keep quiet is what just lost me my whole friend group. Mariana wants to still be friends, but I feel betrayed. I feel like I can never have a real conversation with her again. So am I the asshole in this situation? I genuinely believe in if everyone doesn't like you, then there has to be an issue with you. 22. AITA for making my childhood bully homeless. Hi everyone, it's Alistair Marinescu, the gay orphan prodigy, grandmaster vampire prodigy, multimillionaire singer with 13 distinguished degrees and a penthouse with 4 swimming pools and 2 hot tubs. One day when I was depriving Jeffrey Landgrab of his needs at his house for being homophobic to me in the past, he had rejected me in the locker room one time and I'm still mad about it, I ran across his son, Malcolm. It triggered a memory of how Malcolm and I went to high school together. Every summer when Pride Month began, he never texted me a happy Pride Month. This hurt me deeply, especially since I was a gay orphan. I needed to finally get my revenge for all the trauma he inflicted on me. I used my vampire powers to make Jeffrey hallucinate and make him think we were friends. I then invited him to my penthouse for a pool party. After he got into one of my pools, I put some walls around him. He never escaped. I then sent him to the netherworld and destroyed his urn. Malcolm is now an orphan just like me. Because Malcolm had no survivor skills, bills were never paid and he lost his home. I then saw him in San Myshuno playing the guitar for $2 tips since his skill was low. I walked up to the vendor next to him, ordered the most expensive food they had, and ate it in front of him to flaunt my wealth. I then stepped in front of him and played my guitar while singing for $20 tips, since I am at the top level in both guitar and singing, effectively ruining his homeless musician career. My childhood wound was healed. I visited my good friend Sapphire, who is in her final days of life due to me snitching on her for KILLING, her abusive stage mother, in prison, to boast about me getting back at my childhood bully. Instead of congratulating me, she told me I was the biggest llama in the world and that she hopes I wind up in the deepest layer of the netherworld. But since I am a vampire with full sun and garlic resistance, that will never happen. She's probably just salty about me having her face the consequences of her actions. 23. AITA for not being too tired and not able to accommodate my BEL who often comes unannounced. Am I the asshole if last night I'm too tired from a whole day outing and not able to get up from bed when my BIL and his partner and stepdaughter arrived for their intended dinner? They arrived around 9 and I'm too tired and sleepy. My son mentioned earlier around 5 p.m. that his Tito chatted him that they would come for dinner. I brushed this off because I'm too tired, but mentioned to my son that if in case they would come, there is still cooked rice and adobo for them to eat if in case. Aside from last night, there are several instances that they would come unannounced, around 9 or 10 p.m. We are already in bed around 8 p.m. as this is our sleeping time. We get up early as well to work, so coming unannounced late at night is a total inconvenience to us. When they come, they would just sit, turn the tea, watch Netflix, connect to the internet, and call whoever they wanted to video call, while me, sleepy and tired, has to get out of bed and cook for them and serve them. After eating, they get up and go home, while I still have to clean the table and wash the dishes. 24. AITA for canceling an outing with my mom at the last minute. Yesterday, she invited me to a religious event together. My foot was hurting. Just to clarify, the reason for the initial pain in my legs is that I sprained my big toe and had bruises all over my other leg from a fall I had the day before yesterday, and I had to run to keep up with her. I was yelling at her to slow down, that I couldn't keep up with my injured foot. I was literally crying from the pain as I followed her. When we got home, she told me I didn't have to follow her, but I told her that then why did she want me to go with her if we weren't going to be together? She should have gone alone. I was so angry and couldn't stand my legs until today. That's why, even though we'd planned to go to the beach today a week ago, I told her not to bother waking me up. I wasn't going. While I did tell her in my anger that I wouldn't go out with her anymore because she only took me out to ditch me since she goes with my aunts or by herself, it was also because I couldn't stand my legs anymore. She just had a fight with me, saying that if I say something, I have to do it, and that since I stood her up, I didn't have the decency to drive on a date we'd planned in advance. She said I probably just wanted to spend time with my dad, since I went to his house because I was angry with her, and that I should go live with him and only visit her. She said if I didn't love her, I should leave her alone, that she was going to die soon anyway. I finally snapped. I told her she was rude, that she had no consideration for me, and that she only thought of herself. I made her see that she canceled not because I didn't want to go, but because she hadn't been considerate enough to even allow me to walk properly today, let alone drive. She told me I was disrespectful for saying that she had never spoken to her mother like that, and that she didn't recognize me anymore. In short, she made me feel like I had been the bad guy in that situation, but I truly believe my actions were justified. 25. AITA. For not trusting my mom after she found out where I live. My mother and I have always had a difficult relationship. I moved out at 17 because our home was abusive, and she ultimately forced me to leave. I moved in with my partner, and in July 2024, I found out I was pregnant. I never told my mother my address because I didn't feel safe with my family knowing where I lived. Throughout my pregnancy, our relationship remained rocky. In November, when I was about 4 months pregnant, something happened that I don't think I'll ever forget. I took her to a doctor's appointment for a blood test and left her in the corridor to watch my bag. I had some documents open inside without thinking much of it. When I came back, everything looked untouched, and we went our separate ways. A week or two later, we had a huge argument and said hurtful things. During it, she sent me a photo of those documents, clearly showing my address. That's when I realized she had gone through my belongings and now knew where I lived. She told me to fucks off, and I don't think I'll ever fully forgive that. In January, I visited her with my daughter. Everything was fine until I asked my brother for a ride home. We discussed whether my mom would come too, and at first I was okay with it, but then the incident came back to mind. While my brother was getting ready, I calmly spoke to my mom and said something like, "I know you haven't been to my house before, and I just want to ask that you don't do anything with the knowledge of where I live and what the house looks like." I tried to be respectful, but she became upset, walked away, and refused to talk. I followed and apologized, explaining I didn't mean to hurt her, but she wouldn't engage. We ended up leaving without her. Since then, we've only had limited contact. Whenever I try to bring it up, she gets angry, swears, hangs up, and says she's over it, no matter how calmly I approach it. Am I wrong for speaking up about something that made me feel unsafe and walked on? A bit more info as people are slamming me. She has never hurt anyone else besides me. I always watch my daughter every second while we're over there. And she's never been anything but gentle with my daughter, which frustrates me ever more as you can be so gentle to her. But why not me? It's difficult to explain the situation to people who don't know what she's like, but I know 100% she would never touch my daughter. That's why it's fine to visit her.